Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the win totals for the Big Ten in this upcoming season. If you watched all the futures videos in the offseason, you learned a lot about the teams. And if you bet on them early, you beat Vegas. Because what you'll see here is a trend where Vegas had to adjust the lines for all the Big Ten teams, essentially. Okay? And that means we were right 90% of the time, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we'll start, it's alphabetical, right? So we'll start with Illinois. Illinois started the offseason at 5.5 wins. Are you on the plus or minus for that? I said I'm on the under. The odds got a little bit better for us, and I said 1 unit, and this is a lean. Now, they stayed at 5.5. You see it here. And when you look at their schedule, I just think that Illinois is one of those teams where somebody wrote to me in the DMs and was like, Rico, they're a lot better than you think. And I'm like, well, they're going to have to prove it to me because I'm on the under. Meaning I think they're going to win Eastern Illinois, Central Michigan. Okay. I don't know if they're beating Purdue. But Northwestern, Michigan State, you can have them beating Purdue. That's 5. That's not 6. You need them to beat Nebraska to get to 6. They're not beating Kansas. They're not beating Penn State, Michigan, Oregon. I don't like their chances against Rutgers. I count 5 or 6 losses right off rip, bro. It just feels like it's a lean either way. You probably shouldn't bet it. That's why I don't have it highlighted in green. When you look at this chart, anything highlighted in green behind it is a bet you should make. All right, so there's that. Now, Indiana. At the beginning of the offseason, I started singing Indiana's praises. I saw them winning in the transfer portal. I told you guys, I did a video, and I started screaming. And I started telling you Indiana's real, and I said, put 4 units on Indiana. Nothing's changed. It's still green. It's still a lock. Everything's great. The only thing that's changed is Vegas has adjusted their odds. This used to be a plus 128 bet, and it's now a minus 138. That's great news for those of you who got the bet in early. If you want to make the bet today, I still don't blame you. I think it's very plausible. I think Indiana is going to go out here and win games. Now, remember, it's at 5.5 for Indiana. You guys might think, and I did a whole rundown on this. If you want to go look it up, you can go find Indiana's rankings and in my video that I did on them. Just search Indiana on Patreon or on YouTube. Check the playlist and on the Futures Bets playlist. And there's a playlist called Futures Bets or Win Totals. But you see Indiana right here. I have them 10th in the Big Ten. I have them ahead of Nebraska. I think they have a better quarterback. I think they have arguably, a better wide receiver room than Nebraska for sure. I love the wide receiver room at Indiana. They got a kid who didn't drop a single pass last year. I'm not joking. They got players. They got a 1,000-yard receiver coming in Surratt. They got another stud from Texas Tech. Like, I really like Indiana's wide receiver room. Tight end, okay. Offensive line looks solid. Comparable to everybody else in the Big Ten. And then defensively, defensive tackles are for real. Edge rushers are great. Linebackers are more than adequate. Corners are skilled, but not quite elite. Safeties, skilled, not quite elite, but good enough. And all in all, I see Indiana right in the mix. And I was just looking at Nebraska that whole time. I see Indiana right in the mix with everybody. I got them at 42 overall. There's a 40, there's a 37. Oh, by the way, Curt Cignetti's a hell of a coach. So I really like Indiana. Okay? That being said, when you go look at their schedule, and I'll pull this off to the side here, when we look at Indiana's schedule, they open up with FIU. FIU has a very athletic defense. So don't let it bother you if this is a low-scoring game and Indiana wins the game. Don't go, oh, Rico, you said Indiana's going to be good. They barely beat FIU. No. Don't get it twisted. FIU's defense is good. Okay? But they're going to beat FIU. They're going to beat Western Illinois. I have them beating UCLA, beating Charlotte, and Maryland. I think they open the season. This is going to sound crazy. I think they open the season 6-0. I think they beat Northwestern. I like them 6-0 to open the season. And then they have a daunting schedule. Yes, I get it. Nebraska, Washington. But look, guys, if you check my rankings over here, look what I think of Washington. Look what I think of Northwestern and Maryland. And they got all those guys on the schedule. I think they're the worst teams in the Big Ten. And they're not bad. I have Northwestern 100th overall. If you didn't see the rankings, I'll pull it in the screen. Right there. 100. 77, 69. Indiana for me is at 42. If I missed by 30 spots, I wouldn't be doing this job. That's where I'm at on Indiana. I really believe in them. So, back to the chart. I have Indiana as a lock. And I've told you 4 units is healthy. Now it's a minus 138. The payout's not as juicy, but it's still a great bet. And Indiana, if you're counting the wins, 5.5, that means they need 6 wins. I told you they're going to open the season 6-0. We will have won our bet by October the 12th. And if I'm wrong, they still have other chances to win because Washington ain't shit. I have them ahead of Michigan State. I have them ahead of Nebraska. I have them ahead of Purdue. I have them ahead of all these teams except for Michigan and Ohio State. And I sound crazy because nobody in the media is talking like me. I'm on Indiana. Do you, boo-boo. Do you, boo-boo. Next team on the sports book is Iowa. I was on the over for Iowa at 7.5. I thought they were going to win more than 7.5 games. Vegas has adjusted. And you see all these numbers in parentheses. That means Vegas has adjusted. Look how many teams they've adjusted in the Big Ten. It's insane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can't see them. I'll show you on the other column there. Oh, no, you can see them on the edge of the screen there. 8 teams have been adjusted by Vegas because they got it wrong initially. 8. And we've got Iowa. Everybody started betting the over, so they just upped it to 8.5. Now, do you think they're going to get the over at 8.5? Now, I'm leaving it. I get credit for the 7.5 because I told you to do it at that time. But if you're going to jump it, it's a lean. It's not a lock. Okay, you look at Iowa's schedule. It's pretty simple. They have an amazing defense and no offense. Don't worry. They got a new offensive coordinator. Don't lecture me on anything that's changed at Iowa. Go watch the videos. Go learn. Join the podcast. I'll be talking Big Ten today. I think they win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games. I think they beat Northwestern too. That's 9. Nebraska 10. Iowa might win 10 games. I have them losing to Iowa State. I have them losing to Ohio State. And that's about it. They might win 10 games. According to my charts, according to my assessment of the roster, they might win 10 games. So that feels like an over, but because they increased it to 8.5, I'm just going to leave it at a lean. And it's minus 188 now. The over is now minus 188, which is absurd. Absurd. You'd have to bet multiple units to make it worth your while, and then you're hoping that their offense holds up somehow. I think Sullivan's going to be their starting quarterback. That's the quarterback that transferred from Northwestern. I think he's going to be the starting quarterback. I've been telling everybody this all offseason. So, Iowa feels like an over bet worth making. I should probably make that a lock. Obviously, it's a lock over 7.5, but I think it's a lock over 8.5 as well. Excuse me. That's a lock. Now we got Maryland, and I'm highlighting, if you see the green behind it, that means that's a bet you should make. And we're on Maryland now. And for me, Maryland is not going to win 7.5 games. The books had them at 7.5. I'm like, that's a lock. And I told you 3 units, they're not getting to 7.5 wins. Then the books reduced it down to 6.5 wins. And I'm still on the under. It's still a bet you should make. I see Maryland beating, like, who? UConn? You have them beating Virginia? I don't. Let me show you guys. If I go over here, excuse me, and I look at Maryland, they are the 69th best team in the country. 69th. If I go back and look at the ACC and Virginia, I have Virginia at 63. I think Virginia's better than Maryland. It's close, but I think Virginia's better than Maryland. So when I look at them, by the way, Michigan State, I have them ahead of Maryland by a substantial margin, 50 to 69, almost 19 spots. It's like 9% on the chart. That means Maryland's cupboard's bare. Bare. Their offensive line looks gross. Trust. Okay? So I have them losing to Michigan State. I have them losing to Virginia. They will beat Villanova and UConn. I got them 2-2. And UConn might show up. But I got them 2-2. Got them losing to Indiana. Beating Northwestern 3-3. Loss. Listen to me. They will not win another game after that Northwestern game. They're not winning another game to end the season. They have a daunting schedule. They're guaranteed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses in a row. So they better find their wins up here. And even if they won all 6 games to start the season, they still don't get to the number. Even if they start 6-0, they don't get to the number that the sports books had them at 6.5. They can win the first 6 games of the season, and I got them losing the last 6. They're on that under all day, and it's minus 142, and I think it's multiple units. I don't even see them going undefeated to start. I see them at 3-3. I think Maryland wins 4 games max. Fire Mike Locksley. That's what I think of Maryland. So I would bet that hard. I have it highlighted green for a reason. I still believe in it. I told you 3 units before. Go bet it. Michigan. They were at 9.5 to start the season, the offseason, and I told you under. I don't think Michigan wins more than 9 games. And people told me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Vegas knows I'm not wrong. Everybody started betting on 9. They're going to lose 3 games. And they're sitting there, and now it's 8.5. And now they've adjusted. And now if you think they're going under 8.5, it's a plus 132. Well, no one thinks Michigan's only going to win 8 games. That's a crazy value bet, and I wouldn't take it. I think Michigan wins 9 games. Okay? I'm accurate on that again. So, you might need to go bet the over on Michigan. But now, I think the over is like, what was it? It was 192 before, minus 192, under 9.5. So it wasn't even, you had to bet a whole, but that's why I put 2 units on it. But now you're looking at them, they're going to lose to Texas, they're going to lose to Oregon and Ohio State, and that's it. I got them beating everybody else. And I understand there's going to be competitive games against USC, Fresno State, Illinois, Michigan State, because little brother always gives you a game. But it just looks like they're going to win 9 games. Lose to those big 3 and beat everybody else. That's what it feels like. So 9 games. You'd have to go bet the over. What's the over right now? What they do. Now the over is minus 162. They rip you off even more. Shout out to the books, but you should probably take the over. I'm not flipping because I got it at 9.5. But it's 8.5 now. You should probably take the over. Michigan's going to win 9 games. Okay? That's how I would approach that. The next one's Michigan State. It's a value bet for me. I'm on their over. And I was on their over when they were at 5.5. They're now 4.5. They're now 4.5. Michigan State. You guys, I have them winning the first 4 games of the season. I have them 4-0. And then they have a daunting schedule the rest of the way. And I have them finding a way to beat either Illinois or Purdue at the end of the year. I think 2 weeks to prepare for Illinois is realistic. Or Purdue the next week. And that gets you to your 5th win. It's a value bet. It's going to be a tough one. But you should probably go make that value bet. Now, it's 4.5. So you need 5 wins. And it's now a minus 154. So it's supposed to happen. Now it's and then what they're assuming there is they're going to beat Indiana because Vegas is low on Indiana, and I'm not. And I don't think they're going to beat Indiana. But, yeah, I understand. Still, they moved the books, adjusted themselves, and Vegas is trying to rip you off, man. Now you're on Minnesota. I was on 4.5 with Minnesota. I told you they were going to win more than 4.5 games. Vegas finally caught on. They moved to 5.5. We don't move lines, or we do move lines. You figure it out. I think somebody in Vegas is an MVP hidden in the channel, listening to what I'm saying, and they're adjusting accordingly. Yep. Minnesota. I'm on the over. It was minus 168. They were bound to win 5 games. They still might win 6 games. When you look at Minnesota's schedule, this is Minnesota right here. I had them winning this game, and after looking over North Carolina, it's a coin flip, and now I have them losing the game. I'm telling you, because they're the favorite, the value bet there for North Carolina is very realistic. In my ratings chart, North Carolina is higher than Minnesota by a substantial margin. In my ratings chart, I don't know how far apart they are, but I can check. Well, that's there. Let's go. North Carolina is 27th. Minnesota is 40th. Still very respectable percentages. 66 for Minnesota. North Carolina, 78. I'm not missing by 12%. I think North Carolina is the better team. So, Minnesota wins. I think I have them behind USC, but they're going to beat UCLA, beat Maryland. That's 4 wins, 5 wins. I have them getting to 6 wins somewhere. So, it's 6 wins now. The over is minus 102. Now it's a lean. It's always been a lean, but it's really a lean now. You can make the bet or you don't have to. They got to get to 6 wins. If you think they're beating North Carolina, then you're at 6. If you think they're going to edge out, some of these other teams, you're at 6. But for me, it feels like it's not a bet worth making. It's just a lean. Nebraska, this is a bet you got to take. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who, somebody out there is telling the internet Nebraska's great. So everybody's talking about how great Nebraska is and how good they're going to be and all this stuff. Guys, when I evaluated Nebraska, I have them ranked 11th in the Big Ten. I have them behind Indiana. They're right here. They're actually equal with Indiana, but they're lower because they have a lower starting quarterback in the tiebreakers. You got a true freshman quarterback, bro. I don't know what's going on with Nebraska. But either way, if you think they're winning, I have them behind. Overall, Nebraska's a 44. That's behind Colorado. I have Colorado at 41. So I have them losing to Colorado, beating UTEP, beating Northern Illinois or Northern Iowa. They're supposed to beat Illinois, but what if Illinois beats them? That would be crazy. I have them beating Purdue, and they're close. They're close. They're right next to each other on the chart. But I have them losing to Rutgers, losing to Indiana, losing to Ohio State, losing to USC, losing to Wisconsin, Iowa. I think they have a very difficult schedule. For Nebraska, it's a difficult schedule. It's a daunting task. Somebody out there is telling me they're going to be 6-0, 7-0, 8 wins. Rico, they're getting 9 wins. I'm on Nebraska at 6 wins, bro. So, Nebraska's odds have changed recently since we did the chart. If I can show you in here, Nebraska, they changed them. I'm on the under at 7.5. When it first came out, the under 7.5, it was a minus 164 when it first came out. And I told you, they're going to win less than, they're not winning 8 games. So they're going to win 7 or less games. Give me that at 2 units. It's now a plus 110. I'm still on the under at 2 units. And now I highlighted it green saying you got to make this bet. You got to make this bet. The only bet better is Northwestern. The only bet better in the entire plate, Northwestern and Oregon, but Northwestern. So I'm looking at Northwestern. They were 5.5 wins. I told you take the under. It was a minus 164. It was guaranteed. Everybody's taking the under, So now they reduce it to 4.5, and they make the odds plus 100. It's right there. Under 4.5 plus 100. Guys, Northwestern's not winning 5 games. This is a lock. Northwestern is not winning 5 games. Northwestern is ranked 100th in the country for me. I think they regress horribly this year. Losing Sullivan at quarterback hurts them. They lost a lot of seniority on the team to graduation. Their schedule is just an ass kicker. I have them winning 1 game against Eastern Illinois. I think they open up the season and lose to Miami of Ohio. I think they lose to Duke, Washington. I have them losing to everybody, bro. I think they win 1 game. And if I'm wrong, then they won 2 games, 3 games. They could start 4-0. I don't care. Vegas has them at 4.5. Fucking wild. And you're getting value because they won 8 games last year. I'm on the under all day. It's plus 100. I have it here. I told you 3 units at plus 100. That's the value bet of all value bets. Put it in right now. I don't believe in them. I assessed that roster, looked around, and said, this is all they got? Ohio State. Love Ohio State. I was on the over initially. Obviously, Ohio State's one of the best teams in America for me. I think they're number 1 in my polls. But Ohio State, they're giving you at minus 150. They're not doing you any favors. And they have 3 daunting games, right? They have 3 very difficult games. Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. Boom. And they got to win 11. They can only lose 1 or you fail. By the way, they do play Iowa as well. I just think another thing about those 3 games is 2 of them are on the road. They're at Penn State. They're at Oregon. I don't like that bet. I'm leaving it there. I left it as a lock because I think they're dependable. I think they're a good team. I think they're the best team in America. But it's not something you would want to bet because it's a minus 150. And the reason I mention that is right below is Oregon with the same win total, 10.5. And Oregon doesn't have nearly as difficult of a schedule, and the odds are minus now. They're now minus 114. They were plus 100. When I first made the video, they were plus 100. It was a lock. Now they're minus 114. That's still better than the minus 150. And when I look at Oregon's schedule, you don't see any Penn State on here. All you see is Ohio State and Michigan. So it's the same schedule as Ohio State, but there's no Penn State. There's no Iowa. This is easy. They're going to get all these wins. They got 2 tough games and a bunch of teams they can beat. This is easy. A much better bet, much more sensible. I would take Oregon over the 10.5, and I would put 3 units on it at minus 114. That feels like a right up there with the Northwestern bet for me. And the Maryland bet. These are great bets. I'm calling Kim when I get off this live right here, and we're making these bets all the time. This is what we do. We spend 10 units on every conference. 10 units on every conference. We did it for the ACC, and the bets I'm personally making are the ones highlighted in green. Oregon. Yep. Believe in them like that. Next on the list is Penn State. After looking them over, the over at 9.5 is here. They took the odds away from you. They just ripped them apart, bro. They made the over minus 172. It was plus 140. Or I was on the under. This is a red. I flipped. After doing more analysis and looking, I think Penn State wins at least 10 games. Penn State's schedule looks pretty easy. I actually think they're a lot better than USC. I understand the game on the road at West Virginia looks very appetizing. I think it's appetizing from a spread standpoint, but Penn State should win this game. Penn State should go and walk through everybody except for Ohio State again. But this time, Penn State doesn't play Michigan. They don't play Oregon. They got, I don't know what Penn State's got. They don't play Iowa. All they do, it's Ohio State. They got a crazy easy schedule. So for me, Penn State, this is the year they're going to go out there and win 10, 11 games. 10 or 11 games. And I'm leaving it as a lean because I don't think it's a bet you should make. It's minus 172. That's terrible odds. Terrible payout. But they're going to win 10 games. Yeah, I mean, that'd be crazy. They win 10 games even if they lose to USC and Ohio State. That's still 10 wins. So, yeah. Penn State's winning over 9.5. And that minus 172, you might as well put some real units on it, 2 or 3 units. I'm not going to do it, but you can. Purdue is at 4.5. I have them on the under. They know they're on the under. That's why it's a minus 178. There's no reason to bet it. Purdue could do better. Hudson Card is an established quarterback, been around for a while. Ryan Walters is making the team better. So it's just a lean that I'm on the under, but they could go out and surprise the world. They really could. And I don't have them ranked that terrible. They're not that far behind other teams when I assess their talent. You see Purdue at 12, ahead of Michigan State, ahead of UCLA, Illinois. That means they're competitive, and the percentage is right in there. 63. I have them a top 50 team. Kind of dangerous, man. They're one of those teams that can go out there and flip and make you lose. So I wouldn't bet on Purdue. Or I wouldn't bet against them, I should say. That's probably the verbiage I want to use. So I'll leave that alone. Next team is Rutgers. They don't let me pull up the sportsbook for Rutgers because of where I'm based. But I can just tell you that the line is 6.5, and I'm on the over, and it's a lock, and I would make that bet. The only teams I can see beating Rutgers, this schedule's crazy easy. They don't play Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State. They do play Virginia Tech, who I think beats them. I see they got a game against USC. I'm just looking at the schedule, and I'm just like, nah. Guys, Rutgers has a really good team, a really good defense. When I ranked Rutgers and I evaluated their roster and who they are, they're 7th for me in the Big Ten. I think they can beat a lot of these teams. Wisconsin will beat them, is what I'm saying. And it's close, bro. It's 2%. Wisconsin beating them. Outside of Wisconsin, they're literally favorite in every game. According to my metric, they're favorite to win every single one of these games. Rutgers can go out and win 9-10 games. And they can fall flat on their face and win 6 or 7. But I think Rutgers this is their year to look really good. This is it. This defense is daunting. Daunting. I know the offense sucks, but they're not Gavin Wimsatt bad. Second year with Kirk Ciarrocca. Bringing in a quarterback that knows the offense. I think they lose to Virginia Tech. Maybe drop one game in the Big Ten. But Rutgers is going to be beast, according to their win total. And they got them at 6.5. I think Vegas just doesn't know what they're doing. Okay? And I don't have the sportsbook here, but they got them at 6.5. I think it's an over, and you got to go bet it. And I put it at 1 unit. UCLA, they got them at 4.5. Initially, I was on the over. I can't do it, and now I'm on the under. And even though they're on the 4.5, I'm still on the under. But it's a value bet now at plus 118. I'm on the under again. I think UCLA has a bad season. I thought they would be good. Looked them over. Their opposition is daunting, bro. Daunting. They got games against LSU, Oregon, Penn State, Iowa, USC. Like, they just play 6 teams that can just beat them right now on paper. They have such an uphill battle, and it's not Deshaun Foster's fault. It's not anybody's fault. They just have a really difficult schedule. Like, that game against Fresno State is going to be very difficult for them. After an emotional game with USC, that could be a trap game. Same with Washington. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. UCLA, I'm on the under, and it's a value bet at plus 118. 4 wins. Where are they getting them? I'm looking at this schedule. They're beating Hawaii. At Hawaii, they're beating Hawaii. And then who else they beating? You think they're beating Indiana? I don't. I'm looking. The next win they get is Washington. And then Fresno. That's 3 wins. UCLA with 3 wins. If you count 4, good luck beating Minnesota. 3 wins, UCLA. Then we have USC. Shout out to them. Excuse me, these ads pop up and I can't see everything. USC, really hard to read this team. Not sure how well Miller Moss and them are going to be. 7.5 wins, and you see it. They don't know either. They keep it even odds. That means the money is even on the over and the under. And I've been on the over all off season. Let me move this over so you guys can see this. I've been on this over all off season for USC. And today, I'm telling you, I'm no longer there. Excuse me, I got to just try to move this over and make it legible for you guys. I'm one man, bro. I'm over here now. USC, oh, my picture's in the way. How's that? I'm on USC, 1 unit, it's a lean, and now I'm on the under. I think USC wins 7 games, unfortunately. I think they beat Utah State, Maryland, Washington, UCLA, Nebraska. Like it's only 7 games. It's unfortunate. I don't think they beat Wisconsin. Here's a loss. second loss, third loss, fourth loss, fifth loss, sixth loss. And once you have 6 losses, you only have 6 wins. So I really think Rutgers is going to hit him in the mouth. I know. You guys think I'm talking crazy. It's preseason, bro. It's a lean. Don't make the bet. Another bet you need to make, though, is Washington. I've assessed Washington, and they look terrible, and they have a really brutal schedule. So I think Washington is going to be bad this year. The books have them at 7.5. I was on the under. It was a lock. And now the books have adjusted to 6.5. I don't care. I do not care. I still got it 3 units and go make that bet. Washington's going to win their first 4 games. Washington's going to be 4-0. And they got to get 3 more wins. Point it out. I don't think they beat Rutgers. No chance against Michigan or Iowa. Don't think they beat Indiana. You can think they do. I don't care. Not beating USC, not beating Penn State. You think they're beating UCLA? I don't. And then there's Oregon. I'm trying to tell you how bad Washington is going to be this year. When I assess their roster, it's unfortunate, but Washington is just ahead of Northwestern. The cupboard is bare at Washington. There are some defenders still there. A nice linebacker, some decent corner just came in the transfer portal, and they had one. Offensively, they're kind of serviceable at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. But the offensive line is anemic. Everybody transferred. Tight end, everybody's gone. Like literally, 2 guys got drafted or went to the NFL, and 1 transferred to Alabama in the tight end room alone. So they're starting a 4th-string tight end. Offensive line, everybody transferred. They had 3 guys get drafted. 2 went to Ole Miss. 2 went to Bama. Like they are so thin, it's crazy. And they didn't get but 6 players to come from Arizona with Coach. Coach came, he brought 6 players, 6 recruits. So they'll tell you he brought 12 players with him, but 6 of them never played at Arizona. 6 are high school guys. And the other 6 are players. Like Washington's cupboard's bare, bro. Bare. I don't believe in Washington. Not this year. So that's my breakdown of the Big Ten. Those are the bets you need to make. I'm going to blow up this chart right here so you guys can see it. Excuse me. Make sure you guys can see what we're looking at here for the Big Ten. And remember, the highlighted greens are the bets I'm making today. I recommend you do the same. Good luck, y'all. Remember, unit management, diversify your bets, spread them out a little bit, and yes, we're going to miss. It's the off season or it's the preseason. You're trying to predict the future. We're going to miss. Try to pick the ones that don't miss. Try to pick all the ones that don't miss. Good luck with that. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Remember, I pick every single game, every single team. I don't bet every single game. I don't bet on every single team. I pick them just for the results. I only bet on those ones you see shaded green. Peace.